Okay, so here's a first video in the series of breakdowns. I'll start off saying again, this is 1 year later post hiatal hernia repair with TIF, transoral incisionless fundoplication. The two procedures. I'll start off with the diet. For the first several weeks, the diet was really tough. You're on a liquid diet for 14 days, if I recall. That was, looking back, that was really rough. A lot of ice cream, protein shakes, mush, pureed, blended up chicken noodle soup and instant mashed potatoes, things like that. Then on day 14, at least my diet recommended to me by my doctors, you'll get, if you do this procedure, you'll get your specific diet and such. But finally day 14 or so, give or take, start having eggs and oatmeals and stuff like that. I'm trying to think back to all the things that I was able to eat. I think macaroni and cheese at that point, maybe soft cooked noodles, maybe, but still, cooked, finely ground, like ground turkey, ground chicken, stuff like that, low fats, but still ice cream, protein shakes, but having the eggs and the oatmeal and the ground meats and stuff like that was far more helpful. And that went on for another 4 weeks thereafter. So the diet was one of the worst parts. For me, unfortunately, I had continued symptoms, but the diet was hard. For 6 weeks after that, I was kind of off restrictions in terms of the diet. So you'll get the information from your doctor on what diet to follow. That was a tough one, and kind of along the lines of diet, expect to lose a lot of weight. For some of you, might be a good thing. If you're overweight, no judgment, but I didn't really need to lose weight, and it was hard for me mentally because I didn't like to look as skinny as I looked, but it's just going to be part of the process, but it'll come back. It's just now it was felt like such a long 6 weeks, but then it was a quick, looking back, it was fast. I'd do it again if I had to, compared to some of the other things I'm dealing with now, which I won't get into related to concussion, but that I do it again. And as hard as it was, as awful as that 14 days was, a lot of us, I think, might have the surgery because you want to eat food, and I would never have this before surgery. It just would kill me. The orange juice, the carbonation, the acid, and here I am with a wonderful Mountain Dew, so, which is my thing. And I don't drink alcohol, but I could, and I'm on other medications I won't get into, but blood pressure, cholesterol, things like that, but I just don't drink, so I'm not willing to risk it in that regard. But I could have a beer or some other adult beverage if I wanted to. I just don't. So I still have minor symptoms. Before, I had symptoms 95% of my day. Now I might have symptoms 5% of the day, maybe, and then sometimes 5% of my week. So I'm not symptom free, but symptoms are far more manageable. So in terms of that 6 weeks, follow the diet the doctor gives you. You're going to lose some weight. Once you get off that diet, you're able to eat, what you would like to eat, but you might slowly work in things that you'd have to chew thoroughly, like steak and bagels that are chewy, that kind of stuff. But beyond that, you can eat whatever you need to eat. Again, I had some lingering symptoms, which was for another reason. So I wasn't cured. After the 6 weeks, I went about 4 months and then I had an endoscopy again to check everything was fine. The procedure was fine. The TIF held like it was supposed to. None of the staples that snapped or anything. The scar tissue did what it was supposed to do. The surgery was successful. But I had an issue with my parasympathetic nervous system, apparently. That's what the doctor essentially told me in my specific situation. Again, I'm not a doctor. My disclaimer, I'm not telling you what to do or what to get. This is just what I went through and what I had to deal with. Everything was fine in terms of the surgery, but my parasympathetic nervous system was maybe ramped up way too high, so they gave me a medication that helped with that. And within a day or two of taking that medication, problem solved. And that day after, I think that 2 or 3 days after, endoscopy on a Tuesday, I think on a Thursday, and I didn't even think about it. Wonderful, right? I didn't have to think about what I ate. I think we had like spaghetti marinara sauce on a Thursday, pizza on a Friday, and like a Mexican grill Qdoba on a Saturday. Can you imagine having acid reflux and having that combination back to back to back? So it worked. I can't say for sure, surgery in addition to medication, it was just the medication. I don't know. I don't care, because I just wanted some relief, and I wasn't even going through it that long. If you look back in initial videos, I've only had, I've had acid reflux for a long time, but this LPR, laryngopharyngeal, because my symptoms were more up here and not heartburn, but I had nausea, water brash, and sour water taste. But I did have some throat burn, ear issues, all that kind of stuff. But those were my symptoms. So, but I was able to resume what I would call more of a normal diet, and then have things that I love, like just tomatoes, tomato sauce, pizza, so on and so forth. So as time went on, and after that, again, I started on that medication in December, which was, again, 5-6 months after the surgery. Then normal diet, and I've had a normal diet since. I can have anything I like. Now I'm cautious because I'm not old, I'm very young, I'm 42, but I'm still cautious. I'm not dumb. I'm not going to have smothered green chili burrito not that you would, but for breakfast, and then spaghetti for lunch and pizza for dinner, and then follow it up with a midnight 6-pack of beers. I mean, you're asking for it. So like most anybody else, that's getting older, and just your body changes, and just anybody that has had issues before, you just can't do that kind of stuff. So I'm cautious for the most part. I do go out where I'm on a limb and not where I'm maybe supposed to, where, again, I'd have a Qdoba with salsa on one night, and then the next night have a spaghetti or something like that, where you're like, oh God, that was bad. And I try even now to tell my wife, let's space it out. Spaghetti on a Monday, and then not again spicy with tomatoes or onions or anything like that until a Thursday. But again, I can have a Qdoba and then a pizza and then a spaghetti back to back to back if I wanted to, but then I might have some heartburn or some of those symptoms flare up. But ultimately, again, I can have onions, the pico de gallo, which is I really like, tomatoes, tomato sauce, marinara sauce on pizza, on spaghetti, green chili, heavy tomato base, chili, anything that you can think of. I have zero restrictions, and for the most part, if I have an acid reflux type of situation, I don't feel any different than any normal person that would pop a Rolaids or a Tums. So I have no dietary restrictions, zero, zip, zilch. I can eat whatever I like. So that's kind of the diet. I hope I'm not forgetting something specific, but again, the first 6 weeks were hard in terms of the restricted diet. It got better on day 14 when I was starting to have eggs and things like that. And your doctor might not give you such strict restrictions, but mine did. I did have some to be expected after the surgery, dysphagia or trouble swallowing, but it wasn't anything abnormal. I was used to that. That was another symptom, dysphagia. Just trouble swallowing, especially things like bagels and steaks and stuff like that. But now I really don't have trouble. All that's gone for the most part. I still have some water brash, and in fact I have it right now, but I think it's just because I'm thinking about it, and I had salty stuff, so it makes me more thirsty, and then I start having some symptoms. but for the most part, I feel fine. Is it perfect? No, but again, it's just not the way life is. I feel normal mostly. I have a symptom. Man, I knew I had Qdoba last night. I had tacos, I had pizza, or whatever it might be. I better go take a Rolade. And for the most part, that's kind of like my wife, who doesn't have the problems I have, but she feels some heartburn. You pop her Rolades. I take it any day of the week. But yeah, that was the hardest part for me, was the initial liquid diet and getting off what I called the slop, the pureed stuff. Just was awful. And then for me, I lost 10 pounds in 10 days, I believe. I mean, you just don't eat. So, but that was the hard part. Losing all the weight for me was hard, and then also the liquid diet. Finally getting on day 14 finally adding soft foods like eggs, like I said, oatmeal, and finely ground up turkey, chicken, low fat. So, I mean, you could probably have a high quality ground beef, I would imagine. But for me, the ground chicken was good. A little bit of salt on there, nothing like pepper, but not bad. Then starting to have things like tuna fish and, like I said, macaroni and cheese. The noodles were cooked well enough, and soft stuff at a point. So that was where it got okay. But I had some symptoms, but that was specific for me because of my parasympathetic nervous system. So, which with this medication is relatively under control. So I can't think of anything else in terms of the diet. If there's questions specifically on the diet, let me know. But that's how it worked for me. And like I said, now, a year later, anything I want, I can have. I'm still cautious. I'm not dumb. I won't have certain things. But I was afraid to have hot dogs bothered me in the past. And this is all the fat and the grease. But hot dogs would bother me. But I had a hot dog for the 4th of July and hadn't had one in, 2-3 years. And not a problem. I think I took a Rolade as a precaution because I was afraid, but I don't know that I needed it, and I didn't have to take 3 or 4. I took 1, but I don't have to go through. I don't have a Rolade as part of my diet. It's just, again, as a normal person would have. Shoot, I shouldn't have had that Rolade. So, hope I'm not forgetting anything, but for the most part, anything you could think of that you'd want to eat, I can have. But I'm still cautious. So, that's the diet. I think with the next video, maybe I'll get into exercise or symptoms. But in terms of diet, that's where I am 1 year out. Questions, let me know.